Hello everyone, this is the finale of What If Naruto Met Past Hinata, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Standing in the kitchen on an ordinary Monday, dancing to some strange new song from far away, watching his head fall back and his mouth open and all the words in the world tumble out in no particular order, belting just for her. Eating dumplings with their fingers over the sink, crowded between the cramped countertops, letting him lean against her while she read, curled on the futon. Kissing his head as he sighs in his sleep, blonde hair tickling her cheek. Dog-earing the page because he insisted she lay on his stomach, head on his chest. Summer days in the garden, him lazily stretching and smoothly shifting into his meditation poses, her hands busy fussing with the garden spigot to fill her watering can, the gentle sway of irises and herbs and the twitter of birds. Autumn breezes when he pops into the academy to see her busy with her little ones, crouching on the ground talking softly, nursing a skinned knee, looking up in surprise at his face, hands still cradling some little girls. The mounds of papers, colored drawings, small handwritings, basic drawings of kunai and shuriken, hand signs placed in order, cut and pasted, marked with a tender hand and smiley faces after every grade. She is beloved sensei, she is the one they cling to and she waves to every day before they travel home in pairs and threes, with parents and with friends. New Year's, Sora's first. Homemade cakes and Naruto teaching with rough hands how to fold the origami cranes they hang from the doorframe. Listening to the radio as snow thinly veils the windows and Hinata presents the duck and they raise their hands in celebration. The lonely tears later when Sora is asleep under the kotatsu and Naruto strokes Hinata's hair as she whispers, "Happy New Year Hanabi-chan." Those ordinary Mondays when his bento is tucked with a note that tells him to do his best, the promises to be home on time for dinner, the flowers he picks up on his way. The small puckers of his uniforms and shirts where she has carefully mended before she falls asleep, him snoring next to her, in the soft lamplight. Those ordinary Mondays, side by side at the table, drinking warm sake and listening to the animated tales he weaves for her, the kitten curled in her lap, squirming every now and then. Push Hinata. One more. Push. Hinata bit back the sob as she squinched her eyes shut, fighting the urge to arch her back off the mattress. She was so tired, everything ached. She panted, trying to be strong, but it was proving difficult. She never would have thought she'd need him then, but she did. She needed him to be in her face, yelling at her to move. Damn it Hinata, don't you dare give up. Don't you dare give up now. She yelped again, her legs trembling as she heard the words, maybe in her head, maybe Sakura had said them. Either was plausible. She bit her lip, but it didn't stop the pain as she exhaled more hair, thrusting her chin forward with all she had left. Ha, ha, she cried out, sweat plastering the hair to her forehead, squeezing Tenten's arm with everything she had. Her fingers fought for purchase on the bed sheets and then the railings, G-sping the cold steel in her steaming palm. The agony continued but she clenched her teeth, waiting, until finally she felt the release and the tightened coils of every muscle sprung back, emptying their burdens into Sakura's arms. Yes, the woman exclaimed, a nurse moving in to assist her. Hinata hyperventilated, her eyes wide and blurred. She caught sight of Tenten's face and tried to focus on it, her chest rising rapidly. Breathe Hina, breathe, it's okay now, Tenten said, her voice thick with tears as she felt Hinata's muscles unhinge from their manic grip on her wrist. Sakura couldn't contain her grin as the cries began to fill the room. She almost shouted with happiness, checking for any abnormalities in a first glance, so relieved that there was beautiful noise surrounding them. It's a boy, the Pinkett practically shouted, bending to cradle the treasure to her. She locked eyes with Hinata and the young woman seemed frozen in a state of disbelief, but then, as if by some reflex, her face contorted in tears as Sakura raised the squirming, screaming mass, purpley and bristled. His little hands were curled into frustrated fists and he thrashed his head. His dark hair was matted to him and he opened his mouth in huge gasping fits, sucking in the hospital air as Sakura turned to the observation window where Kakashi was standing. She held up the child who squirmed and wailed, and Kakashi, she swore, put a hand on his face, his smile twitching under his mask, to hide his cloudy eyes. Sasuke's mouth pulled gently and he lifted a finger to point at the baby through the window, talking in hushed tones to Haru, who was hugging his father's wide-eyed. Hinata had no words as they loosely cocooned the wailing infant and wiped the excess from his now rosy face. The tears just continued to stream down her cheeks, mingling with the sweat and the exhausted, twitching muscles. Sakura took the corner of the cloth and mopped the baby with it and then eased the keening creature into Hinata's trembling arms. Sakura clamped Hinata's spasming fingers onto the blanket, cradling the baby in her heavy arms. Hinata finally let her tea unglue, the strangled sound coming out of her lips, past her twisting tongue. Oh Hinata, he's gorgeous, God he looks just like your father. Hinata couldn't respond when Tenten gently stroked the baby's hair, and they both were seemingly deaf to the sounds of Tetsuya racing towards the bed, having opened the door on his own, Neji blushing behind him, telling his son that the room was no place for a man, let alone a little boy. Oh Toto, Tetsuya shouted, looking at the still crying mass in Hinata's arms. Tenten laughed, leading her son away by the hand. That's right, you need to take care of him just like a good Nissan, you hear? Now come on. The voices evaporated, muffled by the thump of the pulse in Hinata's head. She stroked the baby's cheek tenderly. Kiyoshi, baby, don't worry any longer, it's all right now, we are here, she murmured, kissing him gently, her own tears still flowing freely. After years and years, she finally met him. 9 months and 7 days. 4 years. A lifetime of dreams. He continued to cry with her as she pressed her forehead to his, grasping him with all the strength she had left. She could have exploded with the love she felt bursting forth into her, the ancient, sleeping love she had remembered like the fragments of some far-off fantasy. Finally, his eyes were milky lavender and blinking with tears, his face squinched, that dark unruly hair already refusing to stay in place despite her pale fingers brushing it forwards across his wrinkled forehead. Kiyoshi, my beautiful Kiyoshi, I waited for you for so long, she whispered hotly into velvety skin, we waited so long to meet you Kiyoshi, we waited so long to meet you. She cried and cried over the baby as he subdued, reducing his shattering screaming into whimpers and finally the silence of his exhausted sleep. Naruto-sama, the young sand shinobi said, bursting in on the young man who was sitting in front of Gaara's desk, having lunch. Naruto craned his head, meeting the panting nin with a shocked expression. En Naruto-sama, the Chunin gasped, 6:15 this morning, it's a boy. Naruto's chair went tumbling to the ground as he shot up out of it, his eyes wide, mouth unhinged. He turned to Gaara who said nothing, just as shocked. Naruto staggered backwards and began to laugh until the tears wet his face, making it gleam. He laughed until he couldn't any longer and fell to his knees, overcome by the dizzying joy, flooded by relief after hours and days of expectant, anxious waiting. He was there, alive and healthy. He was there and he would greet him. He would hold the first blood relative, the first thing that was so foreign and different from anyone else on the planet, someone he had a connection forged in something stronger than the bonds of memories or friendship. A bond that couldn't be erased by time or death, a bond that would, when he held him for that first time, wrap its small hand around his smallest finger and then securely around his heart forever. A son. At 6:15 that morning, he was the father to a precious son. For all my beloveds, I don't think I ever tell you guys enough how much your words have made these past years bearable. From a struggling kid to what I guess I could call a writer, you have encouraged me with your words and with all the beautiful meaningful things you have given me. Thank you. These years have been very difficult. I've muddled through severe depression and anxiety, both cases leaving me pretty much CS-pled in social situations. Trust was so hard to find and I couldn't make myself see how precious a person I was and could be to others. I didn't get very physical with this depression, thank God. I pray every day for those who suffer with their feelings and the lack of control that they can have, and I hope that I can do whatever I can to heal anyone with these kinds of problems. Don't ever doubt that you've played a part in my recovery. Each beautiful, reassuring word I've ever received has pulled me inch by inch out of the darkness. Because of you guys I can order food at a restaurant without getting so worried I throw up. Because of you, my darlings, I am able to speak properly and I don't have to sleep all the time and waste away the beautiful opportunities I have been blessed with. I don't have to worry because I know that there are people in the world that don't even know me, but they have shared some kind, amazing words with me. They don't shun me or discourage me, or judge me. They accept me and praise me and think that the humble things I have to offer, that truly, can be so mediocre, are worth receiving. I can't thank you enough for giving me the courage and the strength to push past the thoughts I used to have, the frightening things I thought about when I was laying in bed. I used to think about who would miss me and if it would just be better if I SD, but do you know why I always seem to update past midnight? Well, for one thing, as you know, your spoon-san has always had bad cases of word vomit, but also because at those times I would always want to make you guys happy, so I would update and throw myself into my words. I share a lot of empathy for Hinata and for Naruto, for the rejection they felt and the invisibility they faced and the way they seemed to be able to push past that. Writing Moonstruck was in its own way my personal plea to push through the things I thought were impossible. New chapters of my life are beginning now. I am extremely excited to be starting them, to live my life and be the best person I can be. Unfortunately, there are still a lot of things in my life that are hurtful and make me sad. My father is separating from my mother, leaving my younger brother alone. I am old enough to take care of myself. He has declared that while parenting was a fun hobby, he has decided there are more important things to him, like buying cars and moving away and getting a new girlfriend, than being a part of our family. It has made me feel very rejected and abandoned, but I am not giving up this time. I have so much strength and courage that I can face this and be strong. Thank you so much for being my faithful friends and sticking with me. One day I will write a beautiful story and dedicate it to all of you, and you can cherish its words, because they will be able to say what it is I want to say. For now I will write when my heart can take the effort. These emotional times are very trying, so please support my efforts, however little they may be. After the holidays I will probably be cleaning out some of the clutter. Moonstruck and Sunbeams will still be up, as well as Crybaby. And Once Upon a Maybe, but the rest will most likely be deleted. I want to start fresh and be new again so that I can devote my time properly. Until then, I will be updating this Saturday and then taking a hiatus until February at the earliest, though it may last longer. I have many feelings that need to be sorted out and issues in my home that I need to deal with. They are very painful and I am having trouble, but I will face them with all my strength. Thank you so much for everything. Even if you do not believe me or understand, just know that I am always grateful to the sweet anonymous faces that I can interact with. If you ever wish to talk with me regularly, like my friend Perpetual, I am starting back up some correspondences with friends online. You can reach me at mangospoons@gmail.com or peteru@gmail.com. I love friends and would be delighted to share with you my experiences if you have questions or even wish to ask advice or need someone to talk to. I believe in my heart, and with my entire sincerity wish to tell you, as I will always tell you, because I believe too that you will completely understand. May we always walk forward and continue climbing together towards the bright future, glowing like the sun. Hand in hand, let us keep on walking towards the next days. May they always be warm and be full, no matter how cold the journey. Love, Hannah. X. It's snowing. Hinata turns around in the kitchen, and smiles in surprise as Sora bursts through the side door, chest heaving, a tattered scarf strung over his head and around his N. His red cheeks are burning with his grin as he tracks little puddles inside. Kiyoshi jumps up, excitable and 5 years old, his eyes wide. No way, no way, he shouts, already buzzing, and Hinata sighs, and glances out the window. It is snowing, a thin layer of grayish-white on the windowsill and covering the trees. She chuckles to herself, remembering when she was little and it had snowed too. Such a startling thing it had been, that snow, some strange transformation of Konoha she had not understood but was so eager to explore. Yes way, Sora says sagely, bumping Kiyoshi's head with a wrapped hand, to which Kiyoshi rubs his forehead but continues to stare up at his senpai, awed and startled by the news. Lost in thought, Hinata awakens to reality as insistent hands pull on her apron. Mama, Mama, can I go out? Can I go out and play in the snow? Hinata blinks at Kiyoshi's wide eyes and thinks for a moment. Of course, they are already running but she stops his chubby arm, but Kyo-kun must put on his winter clothes. She scolds gently, steering her son towards his bedroom where with a playful swat to his bottom he goes off, rummaging through his toys and clothes, Sora ambling behind to assist. He emerges a moment later, dressed in what she deems satisfactory. Wool poncho, mittens, boots. She pinches their cheeks and pushes them out into the yard to play before returning to her dishes and her laundry and her cooking. The afternoon grows and the snow piles, sticking in a rare and precious blanket of white that covers the boot prints in the gardens, her flowers and bushes covered by linen cloth to protect from the frost. It isn't until the sun begins to peek behind the trees that the door to the porch slides open, wooden frame rattling, and she sees Kiyoshi peering at her. Mama? He asks shyly, and Hinata glances at him from her cup of tea and novel. She quickly hides the letter from his father back into the covers, closing the book quickly. Kiyoshi tilts his head at her. Why don't you come out and play in the snow? He probes, and Hinata's mouth quirks into a strange smile. What, Kyo-kun? Is it because you miss Chi-Chi? Hinata hesitates, the letter's edge biting into her finger. Yes, I miss Chi-Chi a lot. I want him to be home for New Year's with us. She quips the end of the phrase quickly so that it won't break. He nods to himself. I miss Chi-Chi too. I like to draw pictures of him, like the things he says in his stories. Hinata has to laugh at the idea of his stories. Naruto's letters to his son was something of a legend to the other children. Specific tales written out to make the diplomatic work become something amazing and to ease the pains of having a Hokage for a father in a world still licking its wounds. Peace was difficult, as they'd all discovered, and the past 3 months had been better spent in the more distant countries, persuading leaders and guiding the still rather unsteady governments. Nonetheless, the letters are read each night out loud as instructed, before he goes to sleep. I think Chi-Chi would love to see all those drawings. She encourages to her son's embarrassment. He blushes, and she could have cried at the sight, so familiar that flush. It's a good distraction from the still frail hope that he'll actually be home by New Year's. It's 2 days away, and still she relentlessly gives in to the notion that he'll just show up out of nowhere, as usual, without any hitches. No snowed out roads, no random ambush, no broken equipment or injuries. Kiyoshi watches his mother start to worry and springs forward, putting his icy fingers on her shoulder. Mama should come out and play in the snow too. We made snow people on the wall. She should come see. Hinata feels her head pounding a little. It's been a long time since anyone asked her to play. The other children were always too put off by her quietness to ask. Her years of being invisible, her hand extends like it's being tugged by strings, and her little son takes it. She fumbles into her garden boots and some sort of coat, but other than that she isn't wearing much to brace her from the cold. Holding the shawl to her, she walks, guided by Kiyoshi, to where Sora triumphantly displays the caricatures of herself, the S-leaf hair and smile carved with a stick broken into several pieces. Kiyoshi is a smaller blob with a pebbled smile, Sora a little taller with dried grass stuck to the top of his head in a strange mirroring of his hair, and SCRD together with the leftovers is Mimi Tan, the grumpy fat cat sleeping under the bed. Hinata laughs at it, tickled. Oh wah, she says, exaggerating her excitement, so cool. She laughs at the little people arranged on her garden wall, pulling first Kiyoshi in for a few smeared kisses and then Sora for a struggling one on his hair, laughing. The snow falls into her hair and melts, leaving it damp, the sunlight reflecting off her pearly eyes. She stares at the wall and its occupants, Kiyoshi wound around her arm, head on her hip. Where is Naruto-kun? She asks, stepping forward to observe the empty space. Hey, we thought you could make sensei. Since you know him best. Sora explains, and Hinata blinks before bending to gather the cold slush into her hands. The malformed ball is placed beside the others and she slowly sculpts it into the strange semblance of a body, the 2 boys helping her as well by offering advice. Before she knows it, there he is, with pine needle whiskers and a foxy grin, standing beside his snow wife. She taps the little head into place a little and smiles, her red finger tracing the side of its white face. The sun has gone down and she is freezing. Come on, Hina-san. Sora pulls her around and she smiles as Kiyoshi begins to go inside too, looking over his shoulder at what she assumes are the snow people. A pretty good-looking snow guy you got there. I'd say the handsomest I've ever seen, lucky bastard. Hinata stops in her tracks, the glow from the warm house casting her shadow on the white yard. He stayed quiet all that time, Mama. He said we had to surprise you. Kiyoshi shrieks and Hinata is somehow rooted to the spot. Her mouth falls open and she whirls to see what she expects. He's leaning against the wall, snow on his black clothes, laughing at her, eyes closed at his joke, at his ability to hide from her so well. She drops Kyoshi's hand and marches to him. She punches him lightly in the arm, face hidden by the darkness and her hair. Ah, Hina-chan, your face is very adorable. He continues, giggling. Dummy. She cries, dummy. You stay hidden when I want to see you most. Dummy. He kisses her and Sora looks away disgusted, and Kyoshi hides his eyes, unsure as he glimpses through his fingers his usually composed mother jump into his father's embrace. Happy New Year, Hinata-chan. I brought some good sake home too, if that makes you forgive me. Naruto laughs and she shakes her head, breaking his words with a kiss of her own. Dummy. She concludes, the snow still falling and the whole world something wonderful once more. Naruto never got his final wish. Pneumonia when she was 76. How he ever made it through the last 4 years without her was something he could not vouch for. He must have been sleepwalking through at least half of it, he knew that much. He had stayed in the house despite his daughter's insistence. He had listened to her, and he knew that he should, but he couldn't. No, he couldn't leave it. Her flowers, Hana-chan, who will take care of them? He'd asked Hana softly on the porch. She was badgering him to go. It was too big. He shouldn't be staying somewhere so large. He was becoming so good at lying to his daughter. It had taken years of persistent practice, but he was an actual expert by now. Her flowers were only part of it. He would not speak of the long walks through the empty hallways, the trail of his hands on the wood of the walls. The beams of the house he had raised 2 children in with her. The garden, the kitchen, the feeling of her there with him in the cool shade of hot days and the warm sun through the screens, the little clock on the window sill that had seen a decade and more and kept ticking. Their last moments replaying over and over in a lazy loop. Naruto-kun, can you open the window? Her voice was so soft, but softer than it always had been. Weak. The last few weeks had been the most difficult. He waited on her with pleasure, but she grew more and more distant, staring out the window or sleeping, woken in fits of coughing that left her gasping for air. She smiled less, until that morning. She had seemed so peaceful with her request he couldn't have denied her. He'd risen from his place by her bedside, stroking her hand to see her smile at him faintly, and her fingers twitching for a moment to grasp his. I want to see the sun. He smiled back, worry tainting it. Her hand gently pulled from his own and he moved to the window, opening the curtains to let the sun stream in onto their bedroom, creeping onto the bedspread. He knew, before he turned around. Arigato, Naruto-kun, the sun feels so wonderful. It was a simple thank you. So, why was his breath caught in his shallow lungs? He whipped around, but it was too late. Her eyes were closed, gently against the curve of her cheeks, her silver hair wisped over the pillows, gently coming out of its long braid. She smiled in her sleep. A staggering step shuddered up under Naruto's feet as he went forward, stumbling to the bed. Hina. He was already sinking into the mattress, grabbing her arm. He could barely make the words come out, trapped in his mouth. The sun brought bright columns of dust with it, swirling. Her hand was folded onto her abdomen, on the quilt, snowy and delicate and traced by light blue veins. Light peeked off of the wedding photo and the graduation portraits, off the framed letter from Tsunade, the last she'd ever sent, wishing Naruto her best, off the bookcase and the slippers at the bedside. It glinted on amethyst hairpins halfway out of a wooden jewelry box, it soaked into the robes hanging out of the closet. The breeze ruffled the curtains, rippling the light over her face for a moment before settling. Naruto felt his fingers sliding to her hands, holding them. Hina. There was no response except the quiet. Surrounding quiet, enfolding him. Arigato, Naruto-kun, the sun feels so wonderful. Her breathless voice, a tear hit the back of his hand. He stared at her face, the gentle curve of her eyelash against her cheek. Another hot trail landed on the coverlet. His mouth was trembling as he felt the heaviness of her fingers in his own. He rubbed them, trying to keep the warmth for as long as possible before she became cold. He felt a laugh bubble to him, but the sound broke out oddly, like a cry. You didn't grant my wish, Hina. Don't you remember? He asked her, still holding her hand firmly. I wished to never have to go without you. The silence consumed him. She wouldn't ever answer him, though he could easily imagine her reply. So calm, so steady. He bowed his head in shame, the tears coming faster. He would be grateful later that he was the one who beheld the precious moments of his wife's death, that he would be the one to hold her close. I am a shameless man, I am a selfish man. He whispered, I gave you happiness, though, didn't I? We did well, we had a lot of happiness. His smile broke through his tears, wavering. He kissed her palm and pressed his cheek into the shallow dip of her knuckles. We will walk in the sun, again, so please wait patiently. He had told her this in confidence, and so he could no leave her. Not yet, not until he was ready. When he was aware of himself only for a moment, and then, like paper slipping from fingers in the wind, he was beyond himself. He felt completed, like he had reached the finish line after a lifetime of running. It was nothing like he'd imagined it to be, death. It was like he had woken up from a deep sleep, or a dream. A wonderful dream. The place he was in was warm, and the leaves of trees above him shivered and shimmered with a breeze. It was green and bright and pleasant. Naruto-kun. He looked up and she was standing 2 steps ahead of him. She smiled, her head tilting. Were you daydreaming? We have to go, but it's only a little further. Everyone's waiting. She looked over her shoulder and he couldn't see her, but she waved to someone behind her. Everyone's waiting. His heart was swelling with joy and a nervous anticipation. Who was waiting? She blinked at him, and then her face gentled. They've waited for a long time, Naruto-kun. We've all waited for a very long time, and we are so happy you're finally here, so we can all be together with you. His head bowed. What if he was not what they expected? Her young hands, smooth and very young, like white, precious, ivory, came to either side of his warm, healthy cheeks. She lifted his face to her, beaming, overcome by what appeared to be pride and so much love it was nearly palpable in the air. You are so beloved, my precious, wonderful, Naruto-kun. She whispered to him fervently, you are so fiercely loved, you have nothing to fear. Nothing at all. He hesitated, watching her hands retreat to hang before him in an offertory fashion. His eyes slid up her form. She was wearing a yukata and so was he, and the breeze was so inviting and there was something just ahead, he could barely see. She let her hands fall and came to him again, lifting his fingers into her own, pulling upwards. Her eyes shone with understanding. I'll be right by your side. Their palms pressed together, fingers entwining. His worry shed from him and he took a step with her, in time. On the hill he could see the crowd, and all at once, he lifted his hand to wave at them, tears already falling. The sun blinked over the horizon, warm and hot, full of promise, full of love, and full of hope. Saying goodbye doesn't mean anything. It's the time we spent together that matters, not how we left it. The end. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.